Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Algebra 2, and here's our first video. We are going to do division of polynomials today, and with that being said, we are going to do the reverse tabular method. So hold on to your shoes, let's get your notes ready, and let's fly. Alright, so our first look is we've got division here. We got the top divided by the bottom, and I put the answer there just so you can see it. What I want you to recognize here is that I've got one side of fraction here equals another side of fraction here, which is really technically over 1. And if I got one fraction equals another, you guys remember that as a proportion way back when. And what did we do? We cross multiplied. So to do this problem, if I wanted to get this top part right here, okay, you just cross multiply the other two pieces. So I'm going to set that up and we're going to draw that here. So let's go. We're going to put the x squared, because I got a 3 here, a 5x, and a 1 I'll put on that side. And then on top of it, on the bottom over here, we got the 2x plus 5, so I'll put 2x, and I'll put the 5 here. And then as we've learned over the last few days doing the tabular method, we just fill in the box also. You guys remember called the box method. So the first box is a 2x times an x squared, and so if we do that, we get 2x cubed. Then I do 5x times 2x, and we will get 10x squared. And then 1 times 2x, of course, is 2x. In the bottom here, we do the 5 times the x squared to get a 5x squared. We get 5 times 5x to get 25x. And we do 5 times 1 to get 5. And then if you remember, we pull the things out. So 2x cubed, part of our answer there. Then this diagonal right here comes out with 5 plus the 10x squared, which is 15x squared. This diagonal right here, well, 25 and 2x makes basically 27x. And finally, the last one that comes out is the 5. So if I put it all together, I get the 2x cubed, I get the 15x squared, I get the 27x, and I get the plus 5. And if you notice, that's exactly what happens on the top. Okay, that's how we got it. Describing your process. Okay, and we just proved that the one thing does equal the other, if you take a look at it. So I want you to go and do a little bit in this part right here, and I want you to describe your process. So down in this section right down here, fill in what we just did. And now we're going to actually go and I'm going to show you the reverse tabular method and the thinking process in the next piece to get you going and thinking about how to do division in this method. Alright, in example 3 here, we got 2x squared plus x minus 10 all divided by x minus 2. So we got those two polynomial pieces that we're doing. So a trinomial divided by a binomial. What you're going to notice here is I didn't put anything in the top part of the box. And we're going to talk about how to get that and how big the box is in a minute. In the bottom part here, I'm going to put the side. The bottom piece goes on the side, so the x minus 2. And then I put the answer, which is the top part, remember. We cross multiply. This times the piece on top over here, that's the piece missing, okay, will give me the answer. Well, here's the answer right here. So the top part, the dividend, is right over here. I got 3 pieces. 2x squared is going to come out of this box. X is going to come out of here. Minus 10 is going to come out of here. So we have to use our brains now and start thinking. So if I start off here, I've got the 2x squared, okay, right here. Well, it's the only thing in the box, so guess what? This has to be a 2x squared in the box, doesn't it? Which means what times x gives me a 2x squared? So you take the x away from there, and you're left with 2x. Or you stop and you think, like I just said, what times x gives me 2x squared? Well, it's 2x. 2x times x gives me 2x squared. And I can magically fill in that box. Okay? Then we got the other piece here. We got it, and x has got to come out of all of this here. Well, I just filled in this box here. I'm not ready to deal with this spot right over here yet. Not ready to deal with this one. But this one I can, because I know this piece is 2x, and I know this was set up at -2. So it's a little bit of a thinking process. So what is 2x times a -2? And if you do that, 2x times -2 is -4x, isn't it? Okay? Now, here's the deal. we know that the diagonal here has to equal x, doesn't it? Well, what can I add on to x, or what onto negative 4x to get a positive x? Well, common sense says this baby's 5x. 5x minus 4x is 1x. So now we're going to work back again here. And we'll take a look at this. I know this is now 5x. So what times x gives me this 5x? Well, obviously, then what we need up here is a 5. 5 times x is 5x. That fills in this blank very nicely right here. Okay? And now we're down to just this piece. Okay? How do I get negative 10? Well, what's 5 times negative 2? Negative 10. It worked, didn't it? So you can just fill in the box if you want the negative 10. But the bottom line is, we just came up with the answer. Right up here is the 2x plus 5. So our answer out of this whole thing is going to be a 2x and a 5. And obviously, since it doesn't have a sign, it's a plus 5. And that would be your answer. We did. Can I check that? Sure I could. If you want to do a check, take the 2x plus 5 and multiply it by the other one, x minus 2. And if you want to use distributive method here, what's 2x times x? 2x squared. Then 2x times a minus 2 is a minus 4x. A 5 times x is a 5x. And a 5 times a negative 2 is a negative 10. That gives us 2x squared. Remember that outside-inside combo combines to give me a plus x and a minus 10. Is that what I started with up on top here? Yes, it is. And basically, you're kind of like using this thing as a puzzle. You know the one piece over here that you start off with. You know the solution, which is the top here, is what always came out of this. So you just have to use the puzzle to figure out the pieces to fill in the box and get your pieces up here. And so we're going to move on to a bigger problem and a little more complicated one here in one sec.
Alright, so now we're going to go on our reverse tabular method and do another example here in number 4. But before we do, I want to talk about rules down here, if you take a look, for rules. In order to figure out the number of rows you need, okay, because we got to figure out how many rows, how many columns, you need one more than the divisor. That's the bottom number. So up here, I've got the bottom is the highest degree of 2, okay? So I need one more than that. So I am going to need 3 rows, okay? So if I write that up here, my rows will be equal to 3. And then my columns, okay, are going to be down here. It's the number is one more than the difference between the dividend, that's a fancy word for the top up here, that's the top part, and the divisor we already talked about, which is the bottom up here. So my top is 4. My bottom is 2. What's 4 minus 2? Well, of course, that's 2. Plus, I need one more than that, remember. So it's a one more than the difference between them. So I will also need 3 right there. All right, so I need a grid. So let's make a grid. It's going to be a 3 by 3. And I'll show you why in a moment. It's 3 by 3. Some of you guys are saying, well, how come there's only 2 in the bottom? Why don't we only need 2? Well, we need to talk about that again. All right. And so the top here, you got to remember how we're doing this. We're doing reverse tabular, doing division, so it's not multiplying it. The bottom here, okay, is going to go on the side. So I start off with x squared. And then I have a 1. But what am I missing? I have no x's. You got to put that in there. That's why we need another row out of this. And then the 1. You got to go in order from biggest down to littlest, and you got to put zeros in. So we skipped in this, unlike example 3 when we didn't have anything skipping. Now remember, what comes out of this? Well, this row comes out with the top. I get an x to the 4th, don't I? This diagonal right here comes out, and I get an x 4x cubed. This diagonal comes out, and I get 3x squared. This diagonal comes out, and what do we get here? We had a 4x. And then finally this diagonal comes out, and I get a 2. All right? And remember, that's all coming from this. This top part is not going across. It's the answers. It's the solution that comes out. When I divide by this, I get what we call the other factor. And we're going to learn other ways later on, but right now that's what we got. So now we got to do the puzzle piece, okay? So I come out with an x to the 4th, and in this spot right here to get x to the 4th coming out, so we know that that turns out to be x to the 4th. I'll change that. So that's an x to the 4th. But how did I get it? Well, what times x squared gives me x squared? I got to figure this in. This box times this over here gives me this. So what times x fourth? Well, we know that is going to be x squared. So my top part here is an x squared. And sure enough, x squared times x squared gives me x to the fourth. Okay? Now that I know that, I can figure out some more stuff here. All right. First of all, I know this entire row here, don't I? Anything times 0 is going to be 0 all the way across there, isn't it? So I could figure out that puzzle too. I know that this is going to be a 0, this is going to be a 0, and this is going to be a 0. Because no matter what I multiply times this 0 right here, I'm going to get 0. So no matter what's across here, I'm going to get 0. Okay? So what do I need here now on this? Well, it helps me figure out a few other things. I'm going to go further. What about this? I know this is x squared now. I know this is 1, so I don't even have to guess anymore. What is x squared times 1? Well, we know that's x squared, don't we? All right. So I was able to fill in those spots so far. Hopefully you're following with me how I did it. If not, pause the video, rewind, and listen to me again on this part, okay? All right, moving on now. We know that this whole thing right here is 4x cubed. I have no x cubes here, do I? So what on the 0 gives me 4x cubed? Well, obviously, this box has to be a 4x cubed. Okay? And since I know that's 4x cubed, what times x squared gives me 4x cubed? Or you can reverse it. I got 2x squareds here, right? Take them away. If I take 2 x's away from this, I'm down to 4x, aren't I? So that's exactly what the top part is. So 4x times x squared gives me 4x cubed. And I figured out that piece. Once again, down here, I can fill in this box because now that I know that's 4x times 1, we know that has to be 4x times 1 is 4x. Okay? And sure enough, if you look at the diagonal real quick here, doesn't this diagonal give me 4x? That lined up perfectly, didn't it? Well, I got 2 boxes to go. All right? You got to watch out for this box right here because there will be remainders eventually. Right now, you guys should know, hey, what times 1 gives me a 2 to come out for a 2? Well, we know that answer is 2. You can use that right now to see if it works. At the same time, to get this box here, I got 1x squared plus 0, so that's only 1x squared. I need 3 of them, so obviously this thing is going to need 2 of those x squareds, don't I? So now 2x squared plus 1x squared gives me 3x squared. So I figured out that puzzle. Right? And of course, what times x squared gives me 2x squared? We already said the answer was a 2 here. So 2 times x squared gives me 2x squared, and 2 times 1 gives me 2 that goes right here, and the 2, of course, comes out. So now we figured out our puzzle. So our answer to this whole thing, the solution comes up as x squared plus 4x plus 2. Remember, we are not multiplying. We divided. So we need 2 smaller things that make up this. It's the 2 factors that make that up. So we're doing reverse order. We're doing division. And that, my friends, is your answer. And this rule down here to figure out how many rows and columns is a good one to keep in mind moving on. You kind of want to memorize that and understand how to do that, okay? All right, we're going to do more in class tomorrow. I know this was a long slide here on the last one, so it got me over 10 minutes. Good luck. Nothing else for homework. I will see you in class tomorrow. Have a good one.